Hey guys, it's Amelia. So I want to talk today about a concept called centering your horse. So imagine that your horse is living inside of a rectangle. So a wall in front, a wall on the left, a wall on the right, and a wall behind your horse. So as long as your horse is in the center of this rectangle, life is good. But if you can imagine, if the horse tries to go to the front, or they try to go to the back, or they try to go to the left or the right, they're going to run into a wall. So when you're riding, you need to have this image in your mind. Think about that. So if your horse goes too fast, they need to get a little half halt. If they go too slow, they get a little bump with the leg. If they fall to the left, they run into your left leg and rein. If they fall to the right, they run into the right leg and rein. But here's the key. When your horse is in the middle of the rectangle, there has to be peace. Like life has to be so good. So horses learn by pressure and relief. Horses want to just be left alone, right? They don't want like spurs and whips and pressure in their mouth. They want to just be left alone. So you need to make the middle of that rectangle super happy for them. Like that needs to be the best place ever. And this is how you teach your horses to stay with you, that they go exactly the speed you want, they go exactly the direction you want. The rectangle can go onto a circle, onto a bending line, it can be on a straight line. It's a very dynamic thing, but this image in your mind is super important. So let me give you a little visual. Okay, so this is my horse in the middle of the rectangle. He's not very attractive horse, so hopefully your horse is prettier than this. So now let me show you. So if the horse goes to the front of the rectangle, they've got to get pressure and put back in the middle of the rectangle. If they go to the back of the rectangle, again, they get a little bump with the leg and back to the middle. Same thing. If they run into this left side, that's not good, and to the right. So in the middle of this rectangle, life is all good. But the second the horse is outside of the rectangle, life is bad. Now, as you train your horse, the rectangle gets smaller. So here is a more trained horse. Let me actually get him in the middle. Okay, so this is a more trained horse. So if you can imagine, as you train up a horse, the rectangle gets smaller and smaller, right? You go from like a big rectangle to a little rectangle. So like when you're training a young horse, at first, the rectangle is pretty big. Like you can't be super picky. If they deviate a little or if they go a little faster than you want, you have to kind of go with them. But gradually, as you're training up a Grand Prix horse, that rectangle gets smaller and smaller and smaller until the rectangle is basically only as big as your horse is itself. And you also have to think of how this rectangle can change, right? Like if you're in a bending movement, like a half pass, the rectangle can bend. And again, as long as the horse is in the middle of that rectangle, life is good. So this, I think, is a really important image when you think about how to get your horses light, because they're always seeking that place where there's no pressure. So if they're doing what you want, if they're going where you want, if they're going the speed that you want, you've got to leave them alone. But the second that they're, bulging left, bulging right, going too fast, going too slow, there's got to be pressure. And the quicker you are to put that pressure on and then release it, the more quickly you will get your horse to stay with you and stay centered. Like that's a really good rider, is super quick to make those corrections. So I hope this image, this visual helps with you guys and your riding this week. Good luck.